I'm going to give a very, very brief introduction to who Mike is, and but Mike's going to tell you a bit more about himself. So, in a nutshell, Mike sold two recruitment businesses, not even one, but two. One for 24 million, and the other for 15 million. Most people listening to this won't get anywhere near that, and I get that. But the purpose of today is to find out what did Mike do. What is it you need to do to get that if you wanted to sell your business. And I get that some of you will argue, well, I never want to sell my business, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Um, but there is something about creating a business rather than a job. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Mike. If you want to tell us a bit more about yourself, Mike, and then I'm going to start asking some questions. Goes
Thank you,
without
Terry.
saying, guys, that I'm going to come around the room and ask a few of you guys for your thoughts, observations, and questions as well. But over to you, Mike.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, one and all. Thank you for inviting me on, Terry. Looking forward to this. Um, well, I started in IT, and I think that was a really great grounding for business, weirdly, because the skills you need as an analyst in IT and then programmer and designer are coming very handy, as you'll see. I think it'll probably come out when we talk about it, when you're running a business. So then swapped across to being a recruiter in 1988. And then 6 months after that, I set up my first recruitment company with my boss at the recruitment company I went to work for. Then we sold that in 98. He unfortunately died in a car accident early on. So I had to take over and knew nothing about anything. Seriously, it's like really bad. This was a horrible time for me. Anyway, got through it. And then I worked for the company that bought us, a company called Modis, who I believe are owned by Adecco now, actually. I worked for them for a couple of years, but it didn't work out. It never does, really. It was not a great time for either of us, so I left. Had a very hard time, had to have counselling because I'd lost my purpose in life. I'd got tons of money, but no purpose. So the counsellor said on the last session that we had, and I'm paraphrasing here, because she took an hour to do this and charged me 150 quid. But she said, get a job, Michael, and you'll be just fine. We're done here. So that's what I did. I went to set up another business with two of the people that worked for me in the first business. And we ran that then until 2017 when we sold it to Harvey Nash. So that's me, really.
So the second business you sold was also a IT recruitment business because Harvey Nash were a big IT.
Yeah, they were both IT contract businesses, but they both had other things with them which enhanced their value, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. So the first one, we were one of the first people to do agency management in this business. We launched that in 1994. And we also did software development, which was launched a bit later. The second business had a Microsoft Gold Partner badge, which Harvey Nash really wanted. That's what the thing they wanted more than our recruitment division. They wanted that because they wanted to merge it with another part of their business called Nash Tech. But both of them were IT, yeah, sure.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Look, you've sold two businesses, but I want to reverse things. If you were to walk into a recruitment business today, but now as a buyer, what are the things that you would see that would put you off immediately?
Good question. I don't think it would be physical things because, of course, these days we're all fragmented. People are working from home or whatever. I think as soon as you start to lift the lid on a business, though, as soon as you start to look at the numbers and to talk to the people and to look at the client estate, it tells a story. Because what you're looking for is consistency, reliability. You're looking for something that's safe. It's not going to fall to pieces tomorrow just because a big client left or because of one of your senior people left. So you're looking for people dependencies. And we call it the 4 Ps: profit, you want to get these right: profit, people, patrons, clients, or whatever, and product. So we're looking for all of those. We're looking for stability, we're looking for a track record, and we're looking to see where we can take this. If we took it over, how could we get more out of it than these people now are getting it? So I know that's not necessarily the most detailed of answers, but that really is it. It's the numbers.
No, that's great.
Almost.
So what would be the red flags where you'd look at it and go, wowza?
Oh, a lot of those. Lack of consistency would be the first thing. A yo-yo company. Vast amounts of recruitment companies are yo-yos. They grow, they shrink, they grow, they shrink. So obviously there's something wrong there. They don't have the foundations in place in order to construct a business which will be saleable. There's probably too much dependence on the owners, almost certainly. There's probably a poor client estate, not a well-balanced client estate. Net profit is the worst of all, or EBITDA is the worst, because people focus, it seems to me, way too much on GP and turnover, when in actual fact you should be obsessed with EBITDA. That's the only thing that really matters. And so I'd be very interested in looking at that. And if I didn't see that consistent growth of EBITDA moving forward, I don't want to see a lot of movers and shakers in terms of people coming and going. I want a low churn rate. I want to see a good, solid product that I can talk to anybody and they can sell me that product in the room. They can just sell it to me. And I want that to be consistent. If I don't see any of those things, it's like, okay, well, I'm not saying it's a no, but it's not a slam dunk yes either.
Mike, just a quick question. In your experience, you mentioned that, one of the red flags that you look out for is sort of a yo-yo up and down, inconsistent revenue business. From your experience, what are some of the main causes of that? Because we speak to recruiters all the time who have that same problem. What do you see the causes of that?
It's very common, Drew. Good question. The first and foremost is that they rely on 360s, which is a really bad model to use. I'm not a big fan of 360s at all.
Sorry, Mike, just for those that don't know, I know what you mean, but just explain what you mean. I think that's an English term, 360.
360 simply means that they do everything. So in the US, they're client side and candidate side. So they would get the vacancies and they would get the clients, get the vacancies, find the candidates, present the candidates. They may have some help, some resource help perhaps in there somewhere, but they do end to end really. And that model, that 360 model, is deeply flawed. And so what happens, you often find, is a big biller leaves, perhaps takes someone with them. That business disappears through the door. They just take the client with them. Now, they might not physically take them because they got, an exclusion clause in their contract, but they no longer stay with the company that hosted them originally. That's the biggest reason that they go. The other one is an unbalanced client estate. So it's a client estate they've got no control over it. It's been built by recommendation or network, which is great. I'm a big fan of that, but not in a systematic way. So a big client leaves and suddenly there's a big hole in the revenues. Down they go. They have to sack a few people and the whole thing goes down again. So they don't have a systematic way to continually be winning clients. And the third thing, which is related to that, their idea of BD is that they chase vacancies, whereas the sensible idea for BD, it's not that. The sensible definition of BD is you chase high-value clients that can give you a stream of vacancies. That's the thing that we did. We didn't target vacancies. We weren't interested in getting vacancies, just spot deals. That's way too expensive. What we want is a high-value client, and they take longer to win. You have to approach them in a different way. But when you get them, it's a game changer, really. So I think that's normally, Drew, those three things, I think, are the normal reasons that people do go up and down when they shouldn't, to be fair.
No, I 100% agree. I think two of the things you said there, like we have a saying that like the worst number in your business is one. So one main consultant or one main client. I think what you said there has echoed a lot of that. So yeah, it's really, really, really interesting answer.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's funny. I would say probably every week I get one or two phone calls from recruiters who say something like this: "Hey, Tara, I wonder if you can help us, please. We had one main client and we've lost them now. We've lost 60% of our business." I have a phone call like that every single week. So what you said there, Mike, it's probably more common than many people realise, quite frankly.
It's just poor management of a client estate. They don't see the client estate as a thing. And we purposefully call it a client estate. It's an estate to be managed. To take clients out that are low value or troublesome, or the return on investment for that client is low, take them out and replace them with better ones, and to make sure that the ones that you've got, you become the apex supplier. So let me tell you a quick story on this, actually. You might be interested. So if you looked at a graph of the way in which my first business grew, we went from 0 to 5 million, or just under 5 million in 5 years. And then we went from 5 million to 40 million in the next 5 years. And what happened is we hired a coach. She came in, Anne-Marie, her name was, very good. And she changed the way in which we did things a lot, actually. But the two things that she had an impact on indirectly was that we stopped chasing vacancies and we started chasing high-value clients. That was a really big thing. But the other thing was we replaced account management, which was getting vacancies, with client care, which is like a whole bunch of other stuff. So once we were in, and we used to measure the number of clients that we were number one choice. So I'd ask people, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no chance, Mike, 10 being you are absolutely our first choice supplier. I want to know where we stand. Just tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Right. And we could have asked yes or no, but you get a better response if you ask from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so I knew where we were doing well, and I knew where we needed to do work, because I wanted to dominate all the clients. I wanted to push the competition out as much as I possibly could. And so if you put those two things together, that's why you've got an 800% increase in revenues in 5 years, because of those two things. If you don't do that, then you're at the whim of what happens. Clients come, clients go, consultants come, consultants go, and you are bobbing around on that rough sea, really. And that is not a great place to be, in my opinion.
No, some great points there. I just want to take a quick break. I just want to go around the room, just get a few questions from some of the audience. I'll come to you first of all, and then you, Joe, and for your question.
Oh, you said you didn't say the name.
Joe.
Oh, sorry, I thought I said Mike. Mike Merrick. Oh, that must cause some confusion.
A couple of points, Mike, and you took a business from 0 to 5 million, then 5 million to 40 million. You as an individual, did you change? Was Mike Ames running an early stage startup business different to Mike Ames, who sold a £40 million business?
Yeah, unbelievably so. And it was Anne-Marie that made that change. She made me a recruiter that owned a recruitment business, which was quite big, I suppose, when she came, to being a business owner that did some recruitment from time to time. That transition sounds a lot easier, but it took about 22 months to change the way in which the thing that you need to be a great recruiter is exactly the opposite that you need to be a great business owner. And that transition took a lot of time, because what she told me I knew was true, but I couldn't change my behavior. It was hard for me to change my behavior. In a pinch situation, I reverted back to being a recruiter, if that makes sense. So to start with, very definitely, I was of the recruiter mentality. And when I finished, I didn't do any recruitment at all when I finished, of course, but I was a business owner, and it just happened to be a recruitment company. Yeah, sure.
Can I just, sorry, Mike, you finish.
And just in terms of that change, you say that never, that happened over a period of time.
Yeah.
Did the way you think about the business change? I'd just be interested in just digging a little bit deeper into your thought process. Yeah,
it did. To begin with, what she said was, what Anne-Marie said was, you created a business around you, and you need to create a business that doesn't need you. I think that was probably the first conversation we ever had. I think, a long time ago now, but it was early on. And so everything in that business was mine, and everything came through me, and I knew what was going on. And then in the early stages, that had been an advantage. But as we got bigger, it was a massive disadvantage, because things got bogged down and I became overwhelmed and couldn't give all the attention I needed to everything. And she said, no, you've got to build a thing which needs you in a different way as it develops. I'm not explaining this terribly well, but I was ingrained in it when she started. By the time the process had finished, long after Anne-Marie had gone, I was just over here doing a job. It didn't matter whether I went to work or not. So thinking about the business as separate from yourself, which sounds easy, I know, but it isn't. It's quite difficult, really, to act upon that. Yeah, I get it. Oh, no, I still do that, or I'll still need to see that, or I need to interview that person, or whatever it is. So your actions are opposite to what you know you should do. So it's quite difficult. It is, a business mentality, things like, I don't know, give you some examples, like a return on investment window. For recruiters, that's like the end of the month. I'll do that, but when do I get the payback? For a business owner, that could be 2 years off, and that's okay. Same for planning horizons for a recruiter, end of the month after that. For a business owner, it's certainly a 3-year cycle. And the first year in particular is very well planned out. So there's lots of other things as well. But I think that shift, that was the enabler. As soon as that happened, it was like the light had shone through the window on me. And it's like I could hear the singing of the angels. And yes, this is the way it needs to be. And of course, that was the accelerator then. Off we went in a different direction. And I saw greatness in people that worked for me that they'd always had, but I'd stifled. I didn't mean to, but I had. And then they were given space to become who they could be. And that's when the magic happens.
Okay. Thank you.
Fascinating.
Mark, just on that, just to push a bit further.
Yeah,
on that,
true. Yeah, sure.
You said that, you had to you had to think differently, based on being a recruiter to being a recruitment business owner. I think a lot of people listening to this would have come from the same journey as you, where they were a recruiter at first and they started their own business and probably stuck in that, where you were in that sort of 22-month transition. Can you sort of give me sort of the, maybe 2 or 3 top things you had to let go of or transform within yourself in terms of how you thought about things?
Well, the couple of things I just mentioned, and then I'll go on to some new things. Certainly, she taught me to plan longer term and to begin to think about, if we do this now, it's going to cost us money, but that's okay, because next year or thereafter, that investment will start to pay back. So we should think about doing that, which I never did before, right? The other really big thing was delegation, because I didn't really delegate tasks. I sort of shared them. So you do this, but I'm going to keep checking up on you. Which is not good, really. So she taught me how to delegate properly, which is a lot harder than it sounds, actually. There's a lot of factors in that. The 4 T's, I remember. She used to say the 4 T's, Michael. And so I learned to delegate. And as part of that, one of those T's is talent. You've got to have the right people to delegate to. And so I learned to hire the right people. And, of course, we made mistakes. Of course we did, but like anybody else. But hiring the right people made all the difference, because the people that made that business what it was were more than just me. And towards the end, I was playing a very small part in it. They did it. And they were rewarded. I mean, we had a share option scheme and we paid out £3 million to the staff. We had secretaries paying off their mortgages and things. So I don't feel bad about that. I mean, we gave them the money at the end. But I think getting those people in, she taught me the value of empowering people. Which is so much easier to say, isn't it, than to do? Because if you empower the wrong person, it crashes and burns. So there is a way that you have to do that. And if you can do it in that way, then you're going to be more successful. You're going to be successful more times than you are going to fail. Yeah. I think it was J.C. Penney, the American retailer, that once said, the most seminal moment in my business career was when I discovered I couldn't do it all myself. And that was me as well. Bang on.
Excellent. That's absolute gem. Thank you, Mike. Come to Joe.
Yeah.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Mike.
Hello,
Thanks
Joe.
ever so much for joining us today. It's really more of an observation. I've come from that old school high street agency where you would be chuck the papers and look at what the jobs were, and then phone around and try and get that job on. So chasing those jobs, and working with Terry and the team here we're working on building those relationships and getting those dream clients rather than chasing that job that 10 other recruiters are. So I find it really inspiring to hear that's the journey that you went on, and that's what you would what you would recommend. And it's breaking that recruiter mentality of doing that.
It's if you move away from a 360 model.
Mm-hmm.
And you accept in a small business, if you've got a small business with 5 or 6 people on, you can make all the money that you need. You don't need any more than that, really, if it's done properly. So the majority of those people will be candidate facing or existing client facing, which is relatively simple in the great scheme of things. The owner should be very much focused on targeting high value clients. And I don't mean big clients necessarily, because quite often they're not high value at all.
Yeah.
The amount of money that you make off those clients, net profits, is tiny. So your definition of a high value client, I mean, there's a standard definition for it, what a high value client looks like, but to target them. And it's called strategic BD. So you've got tactical BD, which is chasing vacancies. And if you've got to do that, you've got to do it. Good luck with it. But that is not really the way to grow a scalable business. The way to grow a scalable business, I don't mean a mini Michael page here, by the way. I just mean a business that can give you what you want, right? 5, 6 people, you're at the top of it, earning some dough, not working all the time. It's strategic BD. It's about targeting higher value clients and recognizing that the number one thing you have to do with them is start a conversation with a decision maker that's going to be hard to reach, who doesn't want to speak to you, and probably already has suppliers in place they're happy with, right? So that's the first challenge. And then when you get to speak to them, I'll tell you how to do that in a minute if you like, but then the second biggest challenge really is to present something to them that they say, wow, that's interesting. Wow, that's interesting. They might not believe you at that stage, but that's turned the conversation into a different direction now. It's like, well, I like what I'm seeing. If there's an opportunity, or if they can prove to me what they've just said is true, I think we could do something together in the future. Those are the two big challenges for strategic BD. And if you can do them, it's not that difficult. It's just down to persistence then, and to keep going. And if you've got enough, you need 100 target companies, and you should on average win 5 of those every year. On average, I mean, it depends really on size and all the rest of it, but you know what I mean. So you're not looking to recruit them all. If you manage to convert them all, you'd be massively overwhelmed. So you just need enough to come in to replace some of the ones that you've lost, to replace some of the ones that you want to get rid of who are troublesome or low value clients with better quality ones. You know, it's that kind of process, and the growth is very slow. So yeah, I mean, it's a different ball game, but it's the one that I think it creates a better lifestyle. And more profit really, and gives you a better chance, I think, of being saleable one day.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great, mate.
Sorry, Terry.
Go on,
question.
Go on.
You know, one thing you spoke about a lot is, you know, high value clients. And I think you touched on there that I think when you say the word high value clients, often people think, okay, they're the bigger clients, right? The bigger companies are going to be the high value clients. But and I agree 100%. They aren't necessarily the high value clients, but from the outside looking in, or if recruiters listen to this from the outside and they're looking at who they should be going after, how would they, I guess, identify what a high value client looks like to them? What are sort of the...
I can answer that question for you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, right. So we all know what an ICP is, an ideal client profile, right? It's just a definition of these clients that you want. And there's effectively 3 levels of ICP data. There's ICP data that you can get from the internet. So the size of a company, what sector it's in, how many employees it's got, that kind of stuff, really. The second level is information, if you're lucky, that you can get from people that know that company, perhaps because they've worked there or they've been a supplier there or something.
Yeah.
And then the third level is when you start to engage with them and you start to actually speak to people there and get to know what's going on, right? So in terms of a high value client, most of the data that you'll collect, which will tell you if they are or are not high value, comes when you start to talk to them. Because you want to know, for example, do they have the kind of vacancies that you can fill? Are they going to be fair with the terms? Are they going to have a regular stream of vacancies? So not like a million, but a regular stream, more than one a year, so they're going to have a regular stream. Have you got to go through some kind of HR or TA department, or can you deal directly with the hiring managers? Are they on your side? In other words, are going to work with you to get that placement made, or are they just going to be arm's length, didn't get the vacancy right, can't be asked to look at the CVs, blah, blah, blah. Right. So these are the things that you need to know, because high value clients are defined at hiring manager level more than they are at company level. And that's something we often forget, but it's true. And you know this, if you're working with a biggish company and you're working with 2 hiring managers for the same company, one is a dream client and the other is a nightmare. So we always measure ICPs at people level, hiring manager level, not just at client level. Yeah, sure. The clients might be terrible people to work for, which is another one of the characteristics of a high value client. Nobody wants to go and work their dreadful place. Well, that's fine. That's client level. Or it could be they've got standard terms for all their agencies. They want to pay 10% fees or whatever, right? So, okay, yeah, I get that. But once you get past those ideal client data points, then you're going to get into somewhere where I want this person. And if you're determined to get them and you keep going and you're creative in the way in which you approach them, and you've got a really good product, I mean, that has to be said, then eventually you'll succeed, because everybody does. Yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Mike. And Drew, you asked the question that I was going to ask. So so thanks for that. So thank you. So at what point did you realise that being the top biller was limiting the value of your business?
Well, I was never a top biller. I was only average at recruitment. I was never very good. I never was, really. I was very
I love that.
I wasn't. No, I never was really. I mean, don't forget, I started the business up 6 months. I was a trainee recruiter still when I started it, so I ain't got Scooby-Doo really. But I was very good at BD, strategic BD. I'm very good at creative person. So, and I won't give up. I keep going and going and going, and I think that helps. And I was very good at client care, but I wasn't a very good biller really. I mean, everybody was better than me really. I think the people that worked for me, I would say, very few people were kind of the same level of me. They were mostly above, and nobody was lower than me because we didn't employ those people. So, but I could reframe that question. I think that decision when you realise that you've got to move out of the day-to-day business into a different role, and that was kind of a big thing really, because I did like the client work very much, very much. I like to go and see the clients and talk to them, and some of the recruiting I like to do. We were contracts, so we had a contractor as a client as well. So we're doing this. We've got on our show next week, we're doing how to set up a contract desk. And I'm so looking forward to it because most of my clients, all of them pretty much now, are perm companies, which is okay. But I so like contract, and I loved that environment. I love the contractors. I had been a contractor in the mid-'80s for 3 years, a freelancer. So I knew what it was like. I knew a lot of people. And so it was a real drag to get me out of that. You know what I mean? So not thinking, I've got a vacancy, or who can we put in for that? And then who's coming up? Who can we move around a bit? All of that stuff had to stop. And that was really hard.
Mm.
So,
So go on, Drew. Go on.
I was going to say, like, so you say you weren't necessarily a good recruiter, but you really enjoyed the BD, right? Which I think is probably less common for most people we speak to. They're normally great recruiters, dislike the BD side. But so again, I want to sort of ask you a few more questions on that. Let's say we're clear on who our ICP is. We know who the dream clients we want to work with. What are some of the, maybe 4 or 5 strategies that you use to get in front of those, have conversations, and obviously then convert them into clients?
Okay, right. So, so you want to be successful in business, really, there's 4 cornerstones of business success, right? One is focus. So you must, and this applies to business, but certainly applies to strategic BD. So I am not going to give up until I have a conversation with these people. I've got 100 of them, and if I lose one, I'm going to replace it with another. So I've always got 100 targets, and I'm going to have up to 7 attempts to start a conversation with them. Each one of those attempts is going to be different. So I've got focus, I've got persistence, I've got patience, and I've got creativity. Those are the 4 cornerstones of success in business, and they are 10 times the cornerstones of success in BD. So to answer your question, so I'm thinking, well, okay, I might start with the most placeable candidates. I probably won't, but if I have one, and if I think it might land, I might try an NPC approach. Not really my favourite, to be fair. If I run a podcast, so we recommend our clients run podcasts, not to reach people. I don't really care about that. We don't care about downloads or anything like that, really. We just use it as an excuse to invite someone on the show.
Yeah, we do that.
So that's one. Even something like this. I've just lost it, actually. I've got a little video card, right? It's a video card, and you open the card and it plays a little video on the little card. You can get them. They're called video brochures if you Google them. And they're quite expensive. They're like 30 quid, I think, 25, 30 quid. But I guarantee if you send that to the right person, they will watch it. I guarantee it. You would. If that came through the post, you would open it and you would watch it. Of course you would. Right? So there's lots of things that you can do. A really good piece of content, if it's properly good piece of chunky content, a piece of content that's almost good enough to pay for. It's that good that people are going to be interested in it. That'll start a conversation. So it doesn't take much, really, I don't think, to if you're creative. What doesn't work is just sending people emails or LinkedIn messages. It's just like, really, what are we, like 1990 or something?
So what you're saying, are you saying that? So let's say you've got the target client, right? It doesn't really, you don't know what's going to open the door, what's going to give you the opportunity for that conversation, but you want to have multiple, whether it's a podcast interview or podcast invitation you've written them on, or it's could be an email, could be a, what you call a video brochure. You want to have multiple, I guess,
7
streams.
Yeah, 7.
To hit that same that's awesome. Brilliant.
Yeah, most of the work that we do, because there's 5 pillars in a recruitment company, right? So there's delivery, there's client care, there's client acquisition, or BD, if you will, marketing, and HR for your people, right? So 5 pillars. And most of the work that we do in the sales pillar is dependent upon the work done in the marketing pillar, because most of the stuff that you would go to the clients with have been developed by your marketing function, whether that's a person or you every other Thursday, whatever it is. So your marketers create things that start conversations, and your salespeople use these things to start conversations. And of course, there's a feedback loop. So you try it. If it doesn't work, that's okay. You change it and go again. That's why it's so similar to IT. When I used to write programs, we'd write a program, it wouldn't work, we'd run it, it would fail, we would debug it, fix it, put it right, go again, until eventually you've got a program with no bugs in. It's exactly the same in marketing. You try it, you debug it if it doesn't work, you fix it, you go again. And eventually you'll end up with something that does its job. That starts a conversation. That's what it's for. It's massively powerful. This is modern BD now. I think you have to move away from the how to get vacancies. I mean, it's useful to know that. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to build an empire. That's for damn sure.
100%. I think it's interesting how the analogy you use with the the building programs. Because I think one of the mistakes that I see recruitment business owners make is that they'll try a route to market, or they'll try a method of marketing, and it won't work. And rather than using that feedback and building something better and improving it, they'll sort of say, "Oh, that whole method doesn't work. Referrals don't work, or emails, whatever it is." They'll just chuck the whole thing in the bin. But I think, I really like what you said about it's okay, if it doesn't work, we use that as feedback, and then we tweak the part that it's not working, rather than throwing the whole thing out.
Go again. And you've got to realise that people are different. So. If you've got, I don't know whether you guys use video messages, but you can use, if you've got Zoom, which we're on today, if you've got the free version of Zoom, if you look down the left-hand side of the product, you see a thing called clips. Clips. You clip on a clip, you can create a video, and you can send the URL to that video to somebody, and then Zoom will tell you when they've watched it and how much of it they've watched. Right? That's a really cool little feature, really, because a lot of people don't like video, so they won't watch it. Well, fine, okay. But some people will, because it's like, oh, that's interesting. Video for me. You can see then, Zoom will send you an email to say this video has been watched. You can go and see if they watched it all. And then that sends you down a different path. It's like, well, okay, they've watched that. What do I do next now? They're obviously aware of who I am. And what do I do next? I'll tell you one thing as well, which I have to say. Now, I like to give away my best stuff on these videos, quite frankly, and this is part of my best stuff. If you can put an event as one of your conversation starters, it's a game changer, right? Yeah. That event could be a round table, a webinar, something like this. Webinars are better than meetings because they're anonymous. So we've got a webinar coming up later in the year on this subject that you're getting now. To get to it, obviously, some people won't come on it because they don't want people to think they won't want to sell their business. But if it's anonymous, we're going to get a lot of people to it. Plus, whether we get one person or 100 people, nobody will know except us. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Zoom webinars, but it means you can have a conversation. We're doing this thing. We're interviewing this person. Would you like to come and listen to this? Or we've got this round table where we've got a speaker and there's going to be 12 of us and we're going to talk about this subject. Would you like to come? And now in the modern world, in the old days, we'd have to hire a hotel and, this, that, and the other. But now we just set up a Zoom webinar or a Teams call and we hold it. That's something that I would do as early as possible in the process, really, because I can have a conversation before. I'll obviously spend some time with them like I'm spending time with you now, and then I can have a conversation afterwards. It's 3 touch points from one asset. Result. Love it.
Love that. Fantastic. You're like I think you're preaching to the converted here. I just want to come to, because we talk about this so often. But let me just come to a few people. The question this time is biggest takeaway on what we've covered so far. This first, Mike, we haven't even finished, but this is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Some of the stuff you're sharing.
You're welcome.
So let me just come to a few people. Suzanne, let me just come to you. Your biggest takeaway, and I'll come to a few other people as well. For you, Suzanne, what's the biggest takeaway so far?
So this has been a fantastic talk. Thank you so much, Mike.
You're welcome.
So I guess the question I have for you, and you had mentioned it earlier on, that when things get heated or busy or frantic or chaotic, can be easy to revert to your recruiter instincts or your take on everything instincts. So when you're trying to transition from that mentality to the business owner mentality, is there some sort of catchphrase or mental note or some way that you can switch your focus right in the middle of the storm? So here you are handling all these inputs, HR crisis, this and that, something comes up, and your instinct is to revert to your habit, your recruiter habit. So what is do you
Okay.
have like a mental shortcut to
Yes,
change the
I
mindset?
do, Suzanne. Yes, I do. Right. It's a bit cheeky, but I'm going with it because I'm amongst friends, right? So it's a saying, right? And it stems from this. When you're up to your arse in alligators, it's difficult to remember that you were there to drain the swamp, right? Draining the swamp is the big picture. That's going to give you the lifestyle that you're looking for, the income, the free time, the job satisfaction, the knowledge that one day you've got enough money put aside that you can retire in style, right? So they're called non-negotiable goals. You know what they are. And that's the big picture. And making changes to your business, those 5 pillars, because that's what it's all about, really. You're going to make changes to those pillars one at a time to get you closer and closer to that world that you want. It's obvious whether something is an alligator. It's in the here and now. It's pressing, it's proximate. It's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a great opportunity. Wow. Oof. You want 3 people? Great. Let's work on that then. Or it's a bad thing. Clients saying, well, we're kicking you off the list because we've got someone else who's cheaper or whatever it could be. Right. And I think what you have to do is we call it purple time. So each week, you have to have so much purple time where you work on the business. You're going to be draining the swamp. And that's sacrosanct. So if one of these things comes up just as you're about to head into your purple time, that's absolutely fine. You need to deal with this client who's leaving, or you need to deal with this opportunity. Of course you do, right? Fair enough. But you rebook the purple time. And it's the purple time where you're going to work on the business. Because when you work on the business, that's when the business changes. We have a saying, the more you work on the business today, the less you work in the business tomorrow. And so, in essence, when it comes along, it's just remembering, okay, I've got to do this thing, fine, but I need to put time aside to still work on the business. I still need to be that business owner, thinking of the bigger picture, planning, researching, executing the plans. And I still need that time. And if you make the time, it doesn't matter if you slip into a little bit of chasing alligators. It's perfectly fine to do that. Because if you're an owner manager, you're going to be dealing with an alligators for a big chunk of your week, because that's the deal, right? Until you hire people and you move away from it. So just remember, though, if you don't do the purple time, working on your swamp, you're always going to be fighting alligators off. Does that help?
It does help. Yeah, so those are good keywords. So when something happens, it's basically, okay, alligator or swamp, and that gives you the mental clarity to make the decision from there how to manage that problem.
It's a conscious decision to deal with the alligators because you've got to. You have to deal with them. But there's a conscious decision, okay, I'm not going to do that at the expense of moving my business forward either, though. I'm going to continue to do that. And I can't do it now like I was planning to. Fine. I'm going to rebook that purple time. And I suggest you put in the diary, you can use categories in your diary. You can associate a category with a slot in your diary. You can colour them. And we have purple time means working on your business. You click on purple time. There's a big purple spot in the middle of your diary. Coloured time is a really cool way to manage your time, actually. I've been using it for years, but purple time definitely needs some of that.
And I guess you can rank the alligators. Is this my alligator or is this my colleague's alligator?
Yeah, because a lot of those things, you think they're important, but they're not. If you want to save some time, I guarantee anyone on this call, including me probably, you could save a couple of hours a week just by not doing things. Nothing bad would happen if you didn't do them. You think they will, but they won't. And so it's very easy to free time up if you're truly analytical on what you do. We get addicted to certain type of things. We get connected to them, so we have to do them because we've always done them. But actually, if you don't do them, nothing bad will happen. So it's tricky, I know, but it's a balance you have to find.
Yeah.
I had another question, Terry, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So you were talking earlier about how to delegate and how that's a lot more difficult than it might look from the outside, and how to, I guess, set people up to succeed. So I guess a question I have for you is, when delegating something out to somebody, is there a good way to set it up so that then you can truly leave it? You don't have to follow up. You don't have to oversee.
Yeah, sure.
Is there like an optimal condition mentally to set up that person when you're actually doing the task at that time?
Okay. Sadly, not in a way that I could answer in 2 seconds, but I will condense my answer for you. Yes, it's the 4 T's that I was taught all those years ago. It's talent, terms, touch points, and time. So talent means, have you got the right person? Are you asking somebody to do something that they can do? If not, then you have to work with them to fill their knowledge, skill, or experience gaps. So you don't just hand it to them as off you go then, right? You actually work with them to do that. In terms of the time, you have to, A, find time to work with them, but B, you have to recognize that there is a deadline to what you're looking to do. You know, you actually want to deliver something by a certain date. Touch points means that you might say, well, okay, when you need this to finish by next Friday, but if it's a new form of delegation, or it's something they've never done before, you might say, well, why don't we just check in on Monday and see how we're doing? Why don't we do that? It'll be fine. So you're not looking over their shoulder all. Have you done that thing yet? But you're saying, well, yeah, we'll schedule a call, you know, or we'll meet and just talk about this. And then terms are the really big things, because this is what I want doing. These are the restrictions that you have in terms of time and money or people to get that thing done. So you need to learn how to delegate things in that way. The bigger the delegation, so if you're delegating a responsibility, then that's everything. If you're delegating a quick, like I say to my PA, oh, could you just book me a meeting with Terry, please? Then I don't have to go through all of that. I've just done it, really. I would say, I need to book a meeting with Terry, please, and I need it next week if you can do it for me. I've done everything I need to in the terms. So you have to think about the type of delegation, but the really big stuff, the stuff that's going to save you a lot of time and headspace, is the 4 T's.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Very quick. I'll come to you, Charlotte. Question: if you've got any questions, fire away. If not, biggest takeaway so far?
Moving away from the 360 model and why that doesn't work, I think is, and I'm relatively new in business for myself. I've been a recruiter, and in some way have done this. This is probably the first time in my career that I've done 360, but I started with just myself. At what point, how quickly, I guess, when you started your business, did you start bringing on people and resources?
Into the business? Oh, real quick. Yeah, okay. Real quick. Yeah, we hired almost immediately. In fact, I think about 3 months in, we took over a little office, a little square office. And the people we took it over with didn't want to take their secretary with them, so we hired the secretary. Because what we wanted, Anne-Marie used to say to me, delegate everything to the lowest possible pay grade without sacrificing quality and performance. And I've always remembered that. So if somebody else can do something who gets paid less than me, as well as I can do it, or in some cases better, then I'm going to get rid of it. And so when we got Lynn, we gave her a load of stuff that freed us up time to do other things. So I think my advice to you, if you're on your own, would probably, if you've got a lot of tasks that you need to get done, then looking at a VA perhaps to get rid of them. If your problems are around resourcing, outreach, or filtering, phone and filter, then you're going to look for someone who can do that, and then free up that time for you to go and do BD or client care, or just land the deals that you've already got, I suppose. But as soon as you can, hiring people for me is about triggers. I have to say to people, what you're going to do next year, we're going to hire 3 people just randomly out of the air. No, right. Triggers, things like how much money have you got in the bank? How many active clients have you got? How many vacancies are you not filling that you could fill if you had someone? These are triggers. And when you can tick all of them, then you hire someone. Right? That's simple. You don't just hire someone and hope for the best. That's not really, right. That's not a very business-like way of doing things. It's a recruiter way of doing things. It's reactive. So no. Yeah, but as soon as you possibly can, as soon as you can afford it, Charlotte, is my answer to that.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Great.
Great.
Sorry, Charlotte, you got another question?
No, I said thank you. This was great.
Okay. So, Mike, we've got 30 minutes of your time. I know you've got a hard stop at 4, so I'm going to...
I do. I rarely do that, folks, but today it's madness. I've got one after the other. So, yes, sorry.
No, don't apologize. This is fantastic, and we can always... I can always invite you again because you share some real gems here.
I'll always come.
Yeah.
I'll be invited, yeah.
If someone was listening, wants to sell... if somebody was listening and wanted to build a sellable business, where should they start?
Well, I would start with personal productivity. Right, so what do buyers look for? They want a high profit business which is sustainable and which is safe. That's what they want to see. And preferably, with them involved, they can accelerate its growth. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for a client that's had a bumpy past. They're not looking for a client where 2 or 3 people could leave they're not looking for an agency. 2 or 3 people leave and the agency disappears, or they lose a big client and they go, or when they look at the quality of the service you provide because they do some due diligence, the clients don't really like you very much. They're not looking for any of that. So quality is a really key element. Excellence, a commitment to excellence across the whole piece, but it starts with delivery. If you're great at delivery, if your conversion rate is 70 to 80%, your fill rate is 70 to 80%, if your clients naturally come to you first and you've asked them and they say, yeah, you're the apex supplier, then you've got a great base to build from. If you're average at recruitment, so your fill rate is quite low, you don't really get that many exclusive or retained deals, you're in this kind of milling around in that contingency space because that's what the client likes, then you need to fix that first. You need a solid base to build out from. You can put a marketing team together and a sales team together, but then if they bring business and your delivery function is average, then the client's probably not going to give you a second chance. So it all starts with delivery. And if I was going to build a saleable business all over again, because I was obsessed with excellence in delivery, both the businesses I owned, obsessed with it to the nth degree. We didn't call them KPIs in those days, but the data that we kept, the data points that we kept were telling me how good we were at delivery. And even then we made mistakes, but I knew, and that's where you build from. You're putting stuff on top of a product which is perfect or as close to perfect as you can get. And I don't think recruiters are obsessed enough with the quality of delivery as they should be. It's the product. That's what people buy. It's got to be exceptional. And if it's not, then people really won't buy it. So that would be where I would start. Put the data points together to tell me how really good I am. I'm not going to just say, well, yeah, I'm pretty good at that. No, show me the data and I'll figure it out for myself. And then I'm going to figure out ways to make us better and better at that. And then when we reach a certain point, yeah, okay, let's go now. We've got a really good base here. Let's go. Let's get some more clients. Let's dominate more of the clients that we win. Not necessarily the question, I suppose, the answer that you were expecting, but
no, it's very good. So like, people sitting here and people that listen to this, if they're thinking about selling, how far in advance should they be preparing for the sale?
We have a saying for that as well, right? The best day was the day you started the company. The second best day is today, definitely. Right. So I lost £3 million on the sale because we took the decision to sell. When I was lashed up at Christmas with my business partner, we just said, let's leave it. Let's sell it. Not the best thing, not the best approach to take. Luckily, we'd done a lot of things right. And it was luck because I don't think we'd never planned it out. We were just lucky that we'd done a lot of things right. But I'd got some things that we were investing in that the buyers weren't interested in. And that effectively cost me £3 million on the price if I hadn't been doing those things. If I'd had another 18 months, and I'd engaged some help to tell me what I should or shouldn't be doing, I wouldn't have done that, and I'd have got £3 million more for the business that I did. So start now. It takes ages to build many of the things that you need to put in place. You need a machine which is going to win high-value clients. And part of that machine is people, of course it is, but that's only part of it. There's a machine that does it. You've got a machine which makes you the apex supplier. You've got a marketing machine which supports all of that. You've got a HR machine which gets the right people and keeps them. You've got to take time to build these things. But once those pillars are in place, then you've got something that when a buyer looks at it, they think, That's a cool outfit. I like what they're doing. I like their niche. I like the way in which they present themselves. I like their reputation, their brand. I like the people. I like the senior management team. I'm digging the whole thing. Let's move to the next stage and buy it.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. Again, I want to come to a few people. Rich, we come to your biggest takeaway for you, Rich.
Biggest takeaway that I liked was the out of your 7 contacts, connects, make one of them an event. I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, because then you're bringing them in and having time to build that relationship around the event itself. I mean, yeah, so that's a great idea. I've never.
And I'll tell you the interesting thing about that. The reason people don't do it often is they think that they're going to be the event, but they're not. They're the facilitator of the event. So stage 1 is to find out what's of interest to your target audience. What are they talking about now? What would they like to be able to do that they haven't done or they want to do, or what's happening in the market that's going to affect them? And then just find somebody that's already done it or an expert in it. It's not rocket science. And say, would you like to come on this, this interview I'm doing, and I'll interview you and ask you questions. You doesn't have to be live necessarily if you don't want it to be, but live is better like this. All right. And then you can invite people. Say, we've got so-and-so to come and talk about Thingy Bob. Would you like to come? Well, even if they don't know who you are or don't like you, if they're interested in the subject and the person has got credibility, they'll probably come.
Right.
Or wouldn't they? So yeah, 100%. And it doesn't cost any money either. It's a piece of cake. I'm a big fan.
Fantastic. Listen, guys, again, I know during I've talked about this things, I hope you're getting in. And that reframe there, you're the facilitator. Don't get too hung up about this. You're the facilitator. The other one doesn't cost you anything. And what the other one I'm going to add is, rather than selling one-to-one, you're now selling one-to-many when it comes to the event. Fantastic. Thanks for that, Rich. Who have I got? Ola. Just want to come to you. Biggest takeaway for you, sir?
He's legged it.
Ola, if you're there, your mic's not on, buddy. No.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway is that it gives you hope, and it's nice to hear that somebody has done it and we can do it again if we're focused and trying to do things. So it gives us a lot more hope and confidence that we'll stick to this program, the Making Up Placement program. One could achieve one goals and objectives.
Good. Yeah. Good.
Excellent.
Stick to it.
Thanks for that, Ola. So look, with that in mind, it's given us, giving everybody hope. Question for you, Mike. If you could give one piece of advice to a recruitment business owner who wants to build something of value, not just profitable, but of value, what would that be?
I would go back to a recognition of excellence in what you sell. There's a lot of, I think, misunderstanding about what recruiters do. What the clients buy is a shortlist. That's what they buy. They buy a shortlist of people who all match the spec for the role, and that if they offered them the job, would take it. So they're properly suitable for the role and serious about the role. And then they're also, that process is smooth and convenient and easy for them. That's what they buy. If that's right every time, then you'll keep getting business and they'll tell people about you. And if they move from one company to another, they'll take you with them because you're good at what you do. You should be obsessed with the quality of delivery, obsessed with it.
Obsession.
It's obsessed with it. The numbers, everything. If it drops a split percentage point this quarter, it's like the end of the world. You shouldn't sleep. You should beat yourself up and put it right and move on. That's what you need to do. Most recruiters are average at delivery, and they have to be because it's a standard distribution curve. We all know about those from school. Right? Well, you can't afford to be average anymore. You can't. You've got to be very good or exceptional, and then you'll be absolutely fine. And if you focus on a niche, which you have to be really, if you're going to be excellent at something, you have to focus on something to do that. Then weirdly, even if you're a small business, if you've got a strong presence in a niche, if you own that niche and you're very good at it, almost certainly somebody will want to buy you. It's weird, isn't it, really? Almost certainly they will.
But highly surprising. Mike, this has been fantastic. Before we even finish, I know we've got 3 minutes. I'd like to invite you back for part 2 because I just feel that we've only scratched the surface here. There's so many other questions I want to ask you, but there were so many gems there. You talked about resilience. You talked about 7 attempts to reach out to a decision maker. Mike talked about the content, be it a podcast, be it a webinar. You're not the presenter, you're the facilitator, and you're just inviting potential clients along. And
Very happy to.
as I said, it's so easy to do. And the point you made there, Mike, because Drew and I've been guilty of this. We've done events in hotels, and you're right, it can cost a fortune and the whole logistics. Just get a date and reach out to some people and do it on Zoom.
I'll give you this, right? I am going to have to go just in 2 minutes. I'm okay for a couple of minutes. But I've got an event. We run an event every 2 weeks. It's online. It's on LinkedIn. You can find it. It's not a big deal, but right. And we started promoting it 2 days ago. I'll just find it for a second. It's a bit slow because I'm speaking to you and it's using bandwidth. And we have 60 people registered for it already.
You started promoting that 48 hours ago, did you say?
Yeah, we started promoting it on Tuesday. So whatever day we are now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that goes live next Tuesday. It's every other Tuesday we do it at lunchtime. Like this, it's a live stream. It goes out. But the point is by the time that goes live, I would imagine that will be 100 to 120, I would think.
Yeah.
I would think some of that neck of the woods. Now, you don't need to do that. That's not necessary. I'm simply saying that if we can do that, then you can get 6 people on a call. You can do that. Come on.
100%.
Really, right? So
100%.
So I feel very strongly that you need to commit to have something in place that you can use to draw people out of the woodwork and get them to where you can see them and start to talk to them. And an event will definitely do that for you.
Yeah. So we call this the client magnet. Something's going to get potential clients to raise their hand and get you as the recruitment business owner in front of those potential clients.
Correct.
I've got a lot of respect to time. Mike, thank you so much. I'm going to reach out to you. We've got to do part 2. This was absolutely
Terry,
fantastic.
I'll be delighted to come back. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank to everyone for asking questions and making me feel very welcome. Thank you for that.
Not
and
at all.
to you, Terry and Drew, as well. Thank you, guys.
Not at all. Speak to you. Have a great holiday, Mike. I'll speak to you when you get back from holidays.
Okay.
Take
care. Cheers. Bye.